Writing writing a Docker file to create images and run the containers
Okay, okay.
at basic level.
Ankit,
Yeah, it is used to create the environment for our application basically.
it is
Uh,
you.
yeah, for creating the working environment, like if you want to run our program, so for that it use for installing the different servers like MySQL server and other things.
Hmm. Okay. So, do you guys understand the difference between? Do you guys understand like virtualization? That what exactly virtualization is?
No, Sachin.
Okay, no problem. Any of the virtualization tools you guys are aware of?
VMware.
Okay. Now, as a part of this course, right? As a part of this course, we would be talking about, the introduction to the Docker from the concept wise. We'll talk about the components of a Docker, the architecture of a Docker, that how does it works. Okay. We'll also talk about the each and every component, that what does the each and every components and the things they do in the Docker. Now, not only that, but it will also look over the Docker engine, Docker hub, Docker machine, Docker compose, Docker swarm. Also, we will talk about kitematic. We will not talk about, that is not required. Docker CLI commands, how the Docker networking works, how the volume works, and these things. Okay. The whole point to understand here is that what exactly Docker is, right? Now, Docker is what? It's nothing but it's one of a open source tool. Okay, it's one of a open source tool which allows you to incorporate or store your code and its dependencies into a package. Means you have a container like this. Inside this, you have your database, you have your code repositories, you have your libraries. Okay, you have your libraries. Okay, you have your hardware related stuff, everything. Now this entire thing is what? This entire thing is nothing, it's a package. Okay, it's what? It's a package. Now when we say that it's a package, so this means what? That this package is comprised of your whole A to Z data, right, or details. And we call this package as an image. What we call this package as an image means, for example, if I say that okay, this is a Linux package or this is a Linux Docker image, this means if you use that image, you will have the entire Linux operating system or you have the entire Windows operating system handy with you. Understanding?
Yeah.
Now, just a minute. Now, Docker is what? It's an open source tool which helps you to incorporate or store the code and dependencies into the package known as image. Now that image can be what? That image can be used in your instance or something which we call as a container. Now let's say what is container. Okay. Now, what happened? 1 minute. If I say here the container or what's the difference between container and virtual machine? Now you see, as per the diagram, it's a container only talks about or covers the application layer. Okay, it relies on the OS kernel. But virtual machine runs on a hypervisor, which creates a new instance of operating system. Means, if you talk about virtual machine, you have your infrastructure. On top of that infrastructure, you install hypervisor, right? Another software, which creates what? Which creates a instance of the OS on which you create the instance of the OS. Guest OS, binary, libraries, apps. Likewise here also. Two virtual machines, two separate applications are running using the same underlying hardware, but creating a different instance of operating system on another operating system. Example, if you use your Linux, if you have your Windows machine, you most of the time use your Linux, right? How you use your Linux? You use your Linux. Why? Like you say that, okay, with the virtual machine, I will install the Linux also. And you install the Linux on that. How? By using the virtual machine image. Okay. And those things. So those things are, so yeah. Now, those things are not actually good or efficient for the real-time system. How? I have this hypervisor. On this, I have two OS images installed. These are also using my underlying hardware, underlying RAM, memory, everything. Right? The end of the day, I am getting, or I have a scarcity of the resources. Whereas when it comes to the container, you have a Docker as an application which is installed, and on the host operating system only, you have applications and the libraries installed. You don't have any guest OS here, right? You don't have any this guest OS concept is not there in the Docker container. Understanding?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now it's very important to understand, the difference between the virtualization and containerization, because just a second, if we don't understand this difference, right? If I don't understand this difference, it creates a lot of issues with respect to, I'll show you. Now, when I say about virtualization versus containerizations, okay, considering the same diagram again, considering the same diagram again. Now, if you see these are the terms which we will be using, okay, when we use to host applications and those things. Virtualization with the name means you are using some virtual machine. Okay, some virtual machine. Containerization with the name means some containers. Now, virtualization is good to create any virtual versions of any resources or any applications. Okay, means it is good to use virtualization and the things where it allows you to or partition a single physical computer into different machines. Means every VM, if you see here, these every VM which is there, they are independent of each other, right? And running on a different OS. Now tell me an example. If you have to run two versions of a Java, normally two Java versions normally in one app for an application, so will you able to run it on your normal operating system?
No, sir.
Why?
It will show. It will only use one thing that is stored in our system variables.
Exactly, whichever is stored in your environment variable.
Yes.
That if you have two different virtual machines, now in this you installed and you put your Java 8. Okay, here you put your Java version 8, that is J8 version, and here you put your latest version, that is, or any version downgraded one also, or anything, that is Java 13 or whatever it is, right? Now you can run the application on this. Now the point is that okay, it has separated out the OS, it has separated the things, and on top of this, we see that hypervisor sits on the top of the operating system. This is infra, our infra. On top of that, it is sit there. Means hypervisors are directly installed on your operating system. So it will take the resources of which operating system? Of our operating system only, right? The physical CPU which is there, the guest. So whenever any program or anything where you issue any instruction for the VM, okay, so hypervisor relies on which resources? On the physical system resources, right? And these things. So it has to deal accordingly in that way. Now there are two types of hypervisor, type 1, type 2. Type 1 means bare metal, type 2 means hosted. Okay, it's just for the knowledge purpose, how it doesn't matter much. Containerization is you can say that it is an alternative to virtualization because it is lightweight in terms of virtualization. Now in this, the important thing is with every container is an executable package. Every container is an executable package of a software which we want to run, right? And you can run, and you call it as a microservice based architecture. What you call it as a microservice based architecture. Why we call it as a microservice architecture? Because the reason to call this as a microservice architecture, because it helps you, or it basically works in such a way where it uses only the minimal resources. It uses only the minimal resources. Okay, nothing else. Now, if I have to talk furthermore about the different types or difference between, these virtualization or these containerization, which is, the key fundamental part of this thing, I will put it up like this, where I will say, in terms of isolation, virtualization provides you the complete isolation from the host. So whatever is your host operating system, from that it provides you the complete isolation. Whereas containerization, that provides you the lightweight isolation. Means it is packaged in such a way that it is, in terms of size, in terms of efficiency, in terms of memory, it is quite small. Virtualization uses your complete kernel operating system. Okay, whatever is your local operating system, it uses that, right? Or your system resources like your CPU, memory, storage, and all those things. Whereas containerization doesn't uses that. It just uses the normal partition of portion of the operating system. Now, deployment, like again, you have to deploy individual containers or virtualizations. Now, when you deploy the virtualization, you do use hypervisor. When you do the containerization, you use Docker or Kubernetes. Kubernetes is another component which is very, very important and very, very in a boom in the market. It is used for orchestration. Orchestration means managing multiple containers. To manage multiple containers, we use Kubernetes. In terms of storage, containerization has their own local disk storage and these things where it is done. Virtualization stores on a virtual address. Okay, and for them network adapters and load balancing is being taken care. Now, overall, you cannot say, or you cannot say this thing that okay, this is good or that is good. Both has its own merits and demerits. However, definitely containerization is something very, very important. Okay, so virtualization or these things, virtual machines, it came to optimize the server capacities. Okay, earlier days to optimize the server capacity and these things, it came. Remember, virtualization is not possible without hypervisor. Hypervisor is what? It's I think it's a virtual machine, okay, or some like it's a virtual device where or a software or something which helps you to run multiple operating system in parallel. Okay, but access the same physical server resources. Run multiple operating system but access the same physical resources. Now, the problem is every virtual machine has their own OS, has their own virtual copy of hardware and OS. Okay, so we need good amount of RAM and CPU to run it. If you increase these virtual machines, the SDLC life cycle, the software development life cycle, the deployment process, the management, all those gets complex. And you cannot move these VMs. It's not a very easy or very user-friendly way through which you can move these VMs to your cloud. Okay. Whereas containerization, it's not like that, because containerization is what about the containers which shares the OS kernel, okay, and also it shares with other containers also. So that shared part which is there, that is read only, hence the containers are lightweighted. Now, any questions so far? Any questions so far?
No, Sachin.
So we got a fair idea what is Docker, how the difference between the containerization and virtualization.
Yes, sir.
Now, I'll show you. We'll talk about a Docker engine. Just a minute. Now, when we say about or when we talk about Docker engine, okay, the important part to understand here is with respect to the that how the Docker engine comes into the picture. what exactly is the use of that. Docker has described everything or stored everything in a containers, and their core process and their core jobs which are being taken care is that is known as Docker engine. Let's understand with the example of car engine, right? Car needs what? An engine to run, right? Car needs an engine to run, and that engine has what? It has a lot of other features, right? It could have, it has a, it you give it the oil, okay? It has all the machinery parts attached. It has to say the carburetor, the clutch related stuff, the braking system, the gearing system, the steering system. Everything is being operated almost from there only, right? Because that is what a heart of the car. If engine fails, everything goes or everything is at a halt, right? You can't run anything further. Likewise, Docker also has a heart which we call it as a Docker engine, okay, which sits at the top of the Docker operating system. Means if you see your infra, your host is this, on the top will be Docker engine, right? We also call it as a lightweight container runtime environment. What we call this as, Rajeshwari?
Yeah, Sachin.
What we also call this also Docker engine as a
Container. A lightweight container.
right, as a lightweight container runtime. Okay. Now this is what, this is the container runtime which allows you to run multiple containers. Again, give an example of a Java earlier. Take an example of anything, doesn't matter, any software, the different versions you cannot run on one thing. Okay. Now, any questions? So we'll talk about the complete Docker engine and those things again. Okay. And this also Docker engine provides you the REST API and those things also, through which you interact with the Docker processes running and other stuff. Okay. Now we talked about the, we talked about a virtual machine, we talked about a Docker. Ankit, would you like to let us know how what we talked about the Docker?
Docker is a container in which we used to like deploy multiple containers. Means it is an engine in which we used to deploy the multiple containers.
Right. Sai, Sudhakar, you guys also, what you guys got? So
Yes, Sachin. I understood the difference between virtualization and this containerization basically. In virtualization, we are wasting a lot of resources because it will be on our OS, and on top of that, it will be running other OS as well. So there is wastage of RAM, all those resources. But in containerization, we are having Docker engine instead of hypervisor, and there itself, whatever applications are there, we are isolating them into containers.
okay, great. Sudhakar,
In Docker, with help of, I mean, with help of Docker, we can use existing OS, and on top of that, it will directly, we can create multiple containers. So it will not require a particular, particular OS. I mean guest OS. So we will get sorry. Example, if you use virtual machines, we need to allocate a dedicated space, and we need to allocate memory. In Docker, we no need to allocate uh, specific, specific RAM. Also, with the help of Docker and Docker images, we can create uh, uh, images, and based on that, we can run the containers. So we will get a similar setup for our production or dev environment, whatever environment we need.
Right. That's right. Now, the point is that to understand that what is container, right? The next part. Like, so we are talking about, okay, today we'll be just talking about the terminology, because it's very important to understand about the terminology before we move ahead with the practical, before we move ahead with any exposure, because it has a lot of terminologies associated. Now, remember earlier what used to happen if you use a server, you go to the SSH and log into the server, go to the directory, okay, run git pull whatever you want and do the code. Okay, imagine the things which I'm saying. Now, before you deploy or do anything, what you do before you have to run the git pull, what you do into the server, Ankit?
Before git pull,
Yeah, like if you run git pull, what has to be taken care?
but first we need to we should be connected to the remote repository for
That
git pull.
before that also.
Before that also we need to have proper setup, which whatever the application which we are going to deploy,
Correct.
we need to have all
Exactly.
the server configuration.
We need to have the proper setup. We need to have the git installed. We need to have the dependencies installed. Whatever the things are there, all those things should be installed on the server, right? Now, once all the dependencies and these things are installed, what you do, you bring your application into the server, run some code to install and install the or run the applications, right? Now, now the now you have pulled your code to the server, you started using the new version of the application, or you have Nginx or Tomcat, whatever it is you are using and doing those things. Now your development team is completely relied on that system. They're using those things, okay, and these things. Now the problem is that what they did, they installed a separate version, different version, and service went down. What will happen? You will roll back the changes, you will update the dependencies, you will update the code accordingly, you will update the library, you will do all those things, and you will make sure that everything is done, right? Means you installed a single application, you deployed a single application thinking to run it as a one whole application, but that really didn't work, right? Because someone else comes in and he installed a newer version also, and it started failing, right? Right. So with this way, when you have to run a multiple application on the same server, but you also want them to be isolated for security reasons. Now, in a normal scenario, think over some of the scenario and tell me what can you do, where you have to run multiple applications on the same host, but you have to isolate them also due to the security reasons. Tell me. Now, there could be only one thing, right? That you have to move your application into a separate host. You cannot use it on the same host, correct? Which is not cost efficient. Or you have to run two different virtual machines in the host, which will give you the isolation. But again, the resources which are consumed by your VMs will be more. And that will again the costly way. With all these things into the consideration, and with all the problems which has been existed for for the decades now, for the so the thing was quite simple. The answer was quite, so the solution was quite simple, with which Linux team, or the Red Hat, not the Red Hat, like Linux containers and those things, they people came to the solution, and they do what, they created a container, which is what, a set of isolated processes and resources. Linux started using this. They allow to, first of all, they initially use their namespace, then they came up with the process structure, and then they come up with the other things. Now when they start using all these things, at that point of time they realized that this would be a something big solution, where you can create the image of a Linux container, you can create the image of the uh, MySQL or anything, just install it, make the configurations right, and start using them. Correct, Ankit? Now, among this, before that, any questions with respect to containers, that how does container came into the picture? Or before that also, the container is nothing, is basically a small, okay, thing, which is created to deploy a particular application or environment. You have a container default like Ubuntu container, CentOS, and a lot of other things. Now, any questions so far? Okay, I'll assume the silence is go.
No, Sachin.
Okay. Now, with the Docker, you can build a container, you can run the container, you can share the container, you can do all these things. You can deploy your applications using a container, and you call it as a containerization. Okay, you call it as a containerization. Now, the important part is that how you can use the containers, okay, or how you can run them. Now, before that, everyone now understands the need of a Docker, that why do we use a Docker, or still a question in the mind? Why do we use
No,
Docker?
Sachin.
Rajeshwari?
To use less resources, and for the softwares, if they have different environments and you want them to run like simultaneously with security, so you're trying to use Docker for that.
Yeah, okay, that's like one of the reason, one of the things, but yeah, definitely we can put it in a much better way, stating that definitely Docker provides us with the containers. Docker has given us the concept of the containerization, and these containerization, they do what, they keep the things isolated. How? Because your entire application runtime environment, your entire application, your dependencies, libraries, binaries, config files, executable files, everything is packaged in a box together and put it. A simple example again of a, now take it as a ship containers, okay? Everyone know in the ship there are containers which we send. We don't know what are inside that container, or let's say if we know also, we said that there are containers of the different boxes, different things. Now those containers do what? They have everything put up together, right? And those parcels are just handed over to the particular vendor. Or more downgrade environment, or example, if I say, let's say you have a room. In your room you have a 10 card box, okay, or a carton box. Now with each box there are set that, okay, there are 4 boxes of utensils, 2 boxes of clothes, 1 boxes of a grocery item, the other boxes of a miscellaneous item. Now if you have to go and use clothes, so you will open what? Utensils box or cloth box? Will open a cloth box, because all the boxes, all the details, all the things are isolated from each other, and we are well aware how useful it is or how good it will be to use those boxes separately, because that will give me the required data or the required thing whichever I need. Hence we use a Docker because it provides us a containers which are lightweight, which are super easy to create and deploy, and help us to isolate the things from the other containers and package my application, dependency, libraries, and code into the one environment, which means it solves my dependency problems. I don't have to be dependent on anything, right?
Yeah.
Now, another thing, what could be the different benefits of using containers over the virtual machines? That's very simple. If you use your VM, or if you use anything which runs on a guest operating system, it calls, so VM is what? It runs your guest operating system, means using a hypervisor. Where a Docker containers, they run on your host server, okay, on a Docker engine. Containers can be easily integrated, but VMs cannot be. Containers give you more virtualized isolation. Containers give you less isolation, but provides a more better resource things or services. Virtual machine takes a minute to start, at least 1 minute to start, but container starts in a fraction of seconds. Clear? Now,
Yes, Sachin.
we know Docker has a Docker engine, which is the heart of a Docker system. Now, Docker is a client server kind of application. So it has a components where, the one is a daemon process. Daemon process is what? It means that it's a server on which Docker is running from longer time. That's you call as a Docker daemon. Daemon process means server, a process running from a longer time. It has a Docker CLI, it has a Docker APIs. Okay, nothing else is there. Anyone using Windows here?
Me, Sachin.
People who are using Windows, they can install Docker Toolbox. They can install Docker Toolbox, which will help them to install the Docker tool. People who are using Mac or anything, can you go and, or the other way you can follow is to go to Google and just write download Docker for your environment. Ankit, share your screen.
I joined using mobile today actually. I have interview right now.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm just helping you with the installation only, nothing else. Don't worry.
Yeah, but I am going to drop off. Time is coming actually.
Okay, no problem. Rajeshwari, you can share
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Just search in Google, download Docker for Windows.
Okay. So the first one I can do?
No, scroll down.
Okay.
Open this install Docker desktop on Windows. Put Docker desktop for Windows. Click on that.
This one?
Yeah. Let it get downloaded.
Yeah, downloaded it.
Yeah, click there, double click. Anyone who is using Mac here? Now desktop package we can install like this, okay? Now we can also have a Linux tar file which we can use, and we can install that too by unpackaging that tar file and doing the things. Anyone you know what technology, what programming language Docker uses? Docker uses a programming language known as Go, Go. It's a Google language, okay? It takes the things from the Go, Go.
Sorry, Sachin, could you please repeat once again?
Go, Go.
Go. What is the full form for that?
Nothing, Golang, it's a Google language, Golang.
Okay, Go language. Okay, okay.
Whenever it will be prompted, right, use for WSL2, don't select hypervisor, okay? And let me know if it makes your system slow, so we have to move over to the cloud. Sometimes Jenkins and Docker running of those processes makes a system slow.
Sachin, what did you say just now? WSL?
Like it will, once it will unpack everything and do, right, once we install, it might prompt you that whether you want to go ahead with WSL package or a hypervisor. So go with the WSL.
Okay. Okay. It's saying close and restart.
No, don't do that. Otherwise, it will be a problem. But it won't. Just click on the above close icon.
Okay.
Now, just type here to search where it is written. Just select Docker Desktop. No, not there. Here in your Windows, press your window key. Here, right? Type here Docker Desktop. Here. Click there. Anyone else installing it?
I already had it, Sachin.
Okay. Double click here, Rajeshwari.
Yeah, it's not opening consultant.
Okay, open the command line CMD. Let's
Okay.
verify Docker installed or not. CMD. Yeah. Right here, Docker space hyphen version. So we have Docker installed here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just do pwd and enter. No, sorry. This is the Windows, right? Let's do dir directly.
Yeah.
Enter. Okay. Now here write one command docker space pull space busybox. Enter. Okay, it says docker daemon not running. Okay, can you go to the services? Click on search for services.
Okay.
Yep. Here look for docker.
So
Your screen sharing is done.
yeah. Now
Able to
by
see now.
mistake I clicked. Yeah. Actually by mistake I clicked on stop. So yeah.
Scroll down and look for docker.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a docker desktop service, right? It's running.
In middle after DNS client.
Okay, yeah. Now I can see.
Okay. Now, anyone else able to open the docker without restart? Here, look for Hyper-V.
Hyper-V.
Above Hyper-V services. Hyper-V.
Yeah.
No problem. Okay. Try is opening up a Docker desktop tool once again, please. Because that.
Okay. It's not opening, I think.
It didn't show you the configuration also. That is something crazy. Do one thing, uninstall Docker desktop and re-register.
Okay.
Or 1 minute before that, just search for this device configuration.
Hmm?
Search for device configuration. Yeah, device manager only.
Device configuration.
Device manager.
Device manager. Okay.
Not this one. Not this one. Basically, we have.
This one.
Okay, fine. I think after the restart only it will work mostly. So probably like you have to restart and then it will work. Okay.
Okay.
Not like that.
Yeah.
But meanwhile,
But you said that the configuration message was not shown, right? So is there a need to uninstall and install, or it's okay?
no, that's okay.
Okay.
Do one thing. Go to this website.
A website. Okay.
Or before that also, everyone go to hub.docker.com. Okay, Docker Hub.
Which one you said?
Go to Docker Hub. Is in Google. Type Docker Hub.
Okay.
Hub HUB. Hit enter. Open the first one. Yeah. Create. Sign up on this. Okay. Create your account. Register on this.
Docker ID.
Yeah. Give your name.
Okay.
Sai Sudhakar. Are you guys doing?
Sachin, already have account for that.
Okay. So you can go to that website, the labsplaywithdocker.com, and let me know. Like log in there with the Docker ID and this ones. What happened? Give any password.
Do I need to check these boxes?
No, check the I agree to subscription one, and I'm not a robot. Click on sign up.
Cross.
what happens? Select 3 crosswalks.
Yeah, I selected now. Then what is that?
No problem. You select one, so yeah. Select any.
Yeah.
Select
No,
any.
now I can't see any, so I was thinking which one. Oh,
No, you have to click on verify, na?
yeah. Okay, I forgot.
Sign up.
Huh?
Username is already.
Username is
Just put underscore some other thing. Try to make it
okay.
unique. No, you can't use underscore. It says na use 4 to 30 letters and digits only.
Letter digits it's asking for. Okay.
Don't use underscore.
Or underscore. Yes. Maybe like this. Numbers it's asking. So now, yeah. No. Still.
Click on next. Just put last 4 digit of your phone number and then again your surname. That will make it unique. Just a login will take so
Okay.
much of time. Put Rajesh,
Just
Rajeshwari 123. After that, put your husband name, put your son name, whatever it is.
okay. Okay.
Now log in here. Fine. Okay. Now leave it here only. Now go to the URL which I have sent. The labs URL.
This one.
Click on login with Docker ID. Log in here with your Docker ID and your password. Yeah. Now this is one of a site, okay, the labsplaywithdocker.com, through which you can play and you can practice the things. Okay, like we will definitely practice up the things with the other stuff too. But what we can do is that we can practice the things on this as well. Okay, click on add new instance. Getting it size, Sudhakar? You can play around with this. Okay. Now
Yes.
here, type docker hyphen version. This will verify that whether the Docker is installed or not. Docker is installed. Now, some daily commands which we run, right? I'll walk you through with those commands which we run on a day-to-day basis mostly. Like other one is like, just write docker ps, yep, enter. This will tell you if any of the containers are running or not. Okay. Type docker ps hyphen a hyphen a. This will give you the list of the running containers, right? Now, right now no containers are there, so how it will run? The point is that how, as I said, that containers are what? They are nothing. They are basically the copy of an image, which you run, it runs as a container. All the images are stored in the Docker Hub. Okay. In the Docker Hub is a repository where all the images are stored, from where we get all the images. To get the images on the server or to get the images here, we use a command named as docker space pull, right? Docker space pull space busybox. Now this is a command which will install an image named as busybox. Busybox is nothing, it's kind of one of an operating system image which is in a Docker. Run it, enter. Now you see what it has done. It has say using default tag latest. Means if I would have written a busybox colon 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, so it would have installed that specific version. Okay, it would have installed that specific version. When I don't provide that number, it just takes a default tag, default thing, whichever it is. Okay. Then it says latest is pulling from a library busybox, means it is pulling from that. And it downloads the image for you. This means what? That whatever your instance is there, that should be always connected to the internet, so that you can download the images. Getting it?
Yeah.
Now do docker space images. Enter. This will list down the images which we have, and it will tell you the image ID, whenever it was created, what was the size of the image. Go to Docker Hub account. Not here. Go to Docker Hub account in the Google Chrome.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Click on the personal where $0 is written.
What?
Choose the personal plan where $0.
Okay. Okay.
Now here where it's written, okay, go to your email address and first verify your email address. Click on verify email address. Great. Now here search for busybox. Above there is a search bar.
Yeah.
Now you see there are so many. Hold on. Now you guys see here there are so many busybox images. Apart from the first one, the second is IBM Com, Ranker, OpenEBS, and other things. Those are nothing. Those are the images which have been uploaded by some of the other people. Let's not worry about that. Let's go and click on the first one, which is an official image. Yep. Now, as soon as you see this image, Docker official image, it gives you the command that how you can copy or pull the things. Okay, you can pull the things using Docker pull busybox. Come down. This command we already applied and we checked that, right? These are the supported
Yeah.
tags which are there with reference to this. Keep going down. This tells you that what is busybox, what it is done, and all those things. Okay, hold on. Now here it says, how can you run a busybox shell? If you want to run the busybox, you can run it using this command. Now this, not only this, using this command you can run any of the image, okay, which runs a container basically. Copy this command, docker run -it -rm busybox. We'll talk about other things in more detail. I'm just giving you the overview how does docker works. Okay, paste it into the labs.docker.com server. Labs. Yep. Paste it here. Control V or shift plus.
Yeah. Just a minute, right?
Nothing, right? Docker space run space -it. IT means interactive terminal. Okay, space busybox. Enter. Now I am into the busybox terminal. I am into the where busybox terminal. But if I do write docker run -i, just do control C and come out from this. Write exit.
Okay.
Now if I use the same command, but after -it, if I put -d also, this is gonna create the container for me. -it -d. Anyways,
Okay.
it's okay. It's okay. Now write docker container ps. Enter. This will list out all. Write ps -a. Docker container ps -a. Up arrow key. Now you see there are busybox container running and it exited also. Okay, it exited also. The 2 times we ran the container, it ran, but you see the status is exited, means right now it is not running. Can anyone tell me why? So docker ps tells me list of running containers, but docker ps -8 lists me all the containers, okay, irrespective whether it's running or not. Can anyone tell me
But
why?
did it exited automatically?
Yeah.
Or
Anyone tell me why? I'll tell you. Now, what happens? You run a command docker run -it container -d. So container runs once and it didn't had any instructions to do anything, right? So it stopped. That's the beauty of Protect. If you give it an instruction that print any message, it will print a message and it will stop. If you want to again run the container and if you say sleep for 5 minutes, it will sleep for 5 minutes. Okay, we'll see all those things how it can be done. However, this is just an example that you see that how you can pull any image, how you can look for those images, how you can run a container, how you can list down that whether the container is running or not, and how it get exits if there is no work defined to it. We can also create our own custom image. We can also create our own containers by writing our custom images and these things, which we will see in the further sessions. Getting it?
Yeah.
Great. Now, from the theoretical point of view, we are left over with the Docker architecture. Okay. I will, so I don't want to drag a session to a very high thing so that things become confused. But I would be happy if you guys, get more understanding on what is Docker, what is Docker engine, what do we do with Docker CLI. Okay. The 3 commands which we have done, explore Docker Hub. Okay, explore Docker Hub and all those things. That will give you more in-depth idea of the conceptual knowledge. Utilize your time as much as you can do with this. I'll try my best to have a session on Monday. If any office conflict doesn't comes in between, I'll try my best to have it on Monday. Tomorrow there is no class, okay, due to my personal commitments. Tomorrow there is no class. But the next week we will again move ahead with the Docker only. Rajeshwari, I would like you to like restart your system and try to run Docker desktop. Okay, and
Okay.
inform me on WhatsApp that if it is running or not. If it is not running, we can see what exactly is the issue, so that we can start
Yeah.
over with the practicals. Okay, a Docker is very important, guys. Very understanding and interesting thing. So don't miss the sessions if you have started today. Make sure that you try to complete the sessions. We will complete the session like this. Month end would be probably our last for the DevOps, where we will cover up all the the important things. Okay.
Okay.
Sachin, I have one doubt. For
Sure.
example, if we run the container, I mean, it will run on the layers, right?
Right.
For example, I have the layers. How can I find out which container running on those layers?
Okay. Now, so right. So what you want to do is that my container runs in a layer, right?
Yeah.
And to find out that on which layer it is running, right? Or to see that how this is there, you have to use a Docker history command. Okay. Because my layers are what? Right. My layers can be anything which we use for our image build. Right. So if you when you build it, right? Let's say you build it with the help of Docker file, you build it why? Using a Docker build -c and the image name, right? So that will give you each step by step. Now with the Docker history and with that image ID, you can, or with that image name, you can see that which layer it is. But you are saying that once the container is executed or run, at that point of time, you want to see that at which layer it is running currently. Correct?
Yes, yes.
I think for that we have, where lib, we have a Docker AUFS, okay, amount point, which basically stores all the layer related directories. Okay, AUFS, that is another union file system. But there only we see there is no such command where we can refer that at this layer it is running. We can see that how many layers created, what is there. But at which layer it is running, I don't see that there is a command for that.
Okay. I mean, my doubt is, I mean, for example, if I using 10 containers, and for that I have some layers. I mean, each container will run some of the layers, right? So I want to know, I mean, which layer is using which container. Is there any possibility to find out?
Hmm, for by now, I have not seen that. But put me this question on WhatsApp. I'll search over this and I can help you. But I know very well that
Okay.
with respect to Docker history, you can find out the details. Okay. But the thing you want is that is something different. So
Okay.
send me,
Okay.
send me that, I'll help you.
Yeah, what
Oh,
he's asking is, I think it is particular to one container, what he's asking.
Yeah, there are, see, one, not one, you can use a Docker image inspect command also. Docker
Okay.
inspect command, which will tell you that which layer it is. Like now here, do Docker image busybox. Do Docker image inspect. Enter. Hmm, Sorry, do Docker image inspect busybox space busybox. Press up arrow. Enter. This gives you the ID of these layers, right? The SHA at which root FS is there. Listen, scroll up,
Yeah.
scroll up.
The cursor is not going up.
Okay, leave it.
Yeah.
So, getting it.
Yeah, now we can see the layers.
Sai, if you run this command, you will get more detailed information on the layer.
Yes, Sachin.
If not, yeah, whoever question it was, sorry. If it is the same thing, if your question is still doesn't I answer, let me know. I will try to do Google. I have not used this part. Okay. Okay. Any other question? Fine. So in that case, we'll wind up a session for now here. Okay, I'll give you some time to rest. Practice up the things, try to do the things, try to install Docker desktop on Windows application. Get ready for the new session with the new things and new commands. Any feedback, anything? Okay, so with the silence, I assume no questions.
Yeah, no.
Fine then, let's catch up again. Yeah.